Hi, I'm Donna with Suter Consulting, and today we're going to talk about profit first and small plate theory.
Profit first is based on two main principles, the Parkinson's law and the small plate theory.
Parkinson's law states that whatever you have, you will use. So in money, if you have $1,000 for a project, you're going to spend $1,000 for the project. But if you only have $800 for a project, you're going to make decisions that fit inside that $800. It works with time.
You give your team a 10-hour deadline to complete a project. Your team's going to complete that project in 10 hours.
But if you say you only have 8 hours to complete this project, they figure out how to do it in 8 hours. Now, this played out in my business in a huge way.
Before we started using the Parkinson's law within our own company on those budgeted hours, it was kind of just a free-for-all, which means we were kind of increasing in our time and the budget, which also meant okay, what's going on? Do we need to increase our rates to our clients? But in reality, no, we didn't. Some of us were kind of wasting some time.
My first business coach, she told me when I started hiring people, give them double the amount of time that it takes for you to do a project. So if I could do that project in 2 hours, then I had to give my team 4. But as I trained them, I would give them less. So as soon as I knew that they were starting to feel comfortable, I said, please do it in 3 hours. Please do it in 2.5 hours. Until they were back down to the 2 hours that it took me. Because when you give them 2 hours, they focus and learn how to do it in 2 hours.
If you run a business where you bill out with retainer or packaging, then what you want to do is go for internal efficiency in order to increase profit. Parkinson's law helps you to understand the value of what you are spending on your business, like your software, your vehicles, your team, office supplies, anything.
You know, when you get a brand new tube of toothpaste, you're pretty generous when you're pasting up your toothbrush there. But when you get down to the little bits, you're just squeezing it, and you're using every little bit. Why didn't we just use just a little bit when we had the full tube? This is how Parkinson's law helps you bring some discipline to your finances. That's the profit first way.
The small plate theory focuses on the muscle of the business, what matters, what brings value to your company, to your team, and to your clients.
When you're on a diet, one of the tricks of the trade here is to eat on a smaller plate. You fill that plate up, you eat only what's on the smaller plate. You actually are satisfied when your meal is done. But if you had dished yourself a smaller portion on a large plate, you somehow, same amount of food, feel like you didn't get what you wanted or needed. You're hungry at the end because you didn't fill the plate. That's what we're going to do with Profit First and your money. We're going to break out different bank accounts for different purposes, different plates for different purposes. We're going to put profit into a plate. We're going to put the owner's pay into a plate. Then the operational expenses ends up being a much smaller account. You're going to figure out how to run the business on what's in the operation account. Let me give you an example that happened in my own business. So when I first started, I used a free version of Asana for my task management system. I hired an operations manager, and she talked me into a bigger task management system that would have other features.
What is it really benefiting you to spend that extra $500 when you have the free version that gives you everything you really need?
So Suter Consulting has to have a task management system. That is absolutely a muscle software for me, especially being a virtual team. But I don't really need all the bells and whistles that come with software that could be luxurious and very expensive. So I need to cut back on what I'm doing and really just pay for or find free versions of what we're really using, what is muscle. Small plate theory helps you prioritize money.
With the small plate theory method, we're going to help you to actually see the value of every single expense that is going on in your business. Then you can start cutting off anything that is unnecessary.
And when you have a smaller operations plate, we have to learn to be smarter about what we're spending that money on. Smart about what our muscle is and how much we're spending on that. You know, the muscle and the nice to haves are different for every industry. For example, as an accountant, I don't need to necessarily drive a nice car. It's nice, but I don't have to. It's not my muscle. But for my real estate clients, they do need to be driving a nice car. But for them, they need to prioritize whether that is the most luxurious car or just a really nice car.
When you use the small plates, you're going to end up consuming less, you're going to decrease your expenses, and you're going to increase your profits.
So I just recently had this client that called me and said, Donna, I know that we're working with Profit First and I want to go to a conference. Now this person goes to a lot of conferences. And my response back to him was, do we have the budget for it? What are you going to learn? What's your ROI? How can you possibly learn the same material, maybe for a little less money than traveling to a conference? You know, this morning I got an email from him and he said to me, I've decided I'm going to do the virtual conference. I'm inviting some of my friends along to meet in my office for this virtual conference, and we're going to share the cost of it. Now that is profit first thinking. You know, if you overindulge in the nice to haves, it kind of weighs the company down. Toning down on those nice to haves and really prioritizing those muscles gives us flexibility and movement when the world changes on us. So when I first started reading the book Profit First by Mike Michalowicz, he does a 1% challenge. Put away 1% of your revenue for the entire time that it's taking to read your book.
Let me clarify what this 1% challenge is all about. With the 1% challenge, you're basically starting off by putting your foot in the door. You're going to take 1% of your revenue and you're going to set it aside like it's your profit. That's going to get you started, okay? Let's see how you do without that 1% of money. Then the next month, we're going to have you do 2% of your revenue. Set it aside. And then see how you feel. Can your business still survive without that 2% of revenue? I think it probably could. And then you'll just continue and see how you feel. Get into the groove, get into that rhythm.
Now I took that step further and I did it for like 9 months. But gradually I moved from 1%. And at the end of the 9 months, I was at 12%. But that really big bank account made me have stars in my eyes. I started to think about all of the nice to haves. It also made me understand what small plate theory was all about. Once I was able to separate out the money into different bank accounts, then I had a much smaller plate for operations. And I realized, oh, I still do need to prioritize the muscle over my luxuries. Doesn't mean that I can't have some luxuries, but that I really need to know that I've got the muscle taken care of before I indulge. This brings clarity to me because when I'm at tax season or even doing my estimated taxes, I'm not scared because I have a small plate set aside, and I hope that you can now see that it is essential that we get these tools in place, Parkinson's law and small plate theory, so that you can really transform your business. You can learn more about Profit First by going to our website, suterconsulting.com, and downloading the first 2 chapters of Profit First for free.
And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel.